Since a permanent homeless shelter won't be at full capacity until July, about 250 people ended up back on the streets after the temporary tent shelters in downtown closed a few weeks ago. Joining me with an update on how the city is dealing with the transition from temporary to year-round housing are my guests, Ruth Brulin with the St. Vincent de Paul Village and Bob McElroy with Alpha Project, a nonprofit organization serving San Diego's homeless. And Bob, how is the city or any agency actually tracking these estimated couple hundred of people that had to find a new place to go or didn't find a new place to go?
Well, we've been trying our best. We have outreach teams in Hillcrest, downtown San Diego, the Port, and now East Village that are dedicated to this population. And we've been trying our best to try and keep track of people, especially those that are at the top of the vulnerability index, which are the next ones to transition into permanent supportive housing. But the challenge is, I mean, it's a transient population, and the people are in survival mode. So it's the challenge is trying to keep track of folks so that they don't miss their opportunity.
Yeah, and Ruth, what's the problem when you don't keep track of people, especially those that are in dire need?
The resources are so tight, there aren't that many of them, so if we've got somebody whose vulnerability is such that it can be life or death to get them into that resource and we can't find them, that's a missed opportunity, sometimes of a lifetime. And it's tragic, and we have to make sure it happens as infrequently as possible, if ever again.
St. Vincent de Paul took 100 people out of the tent shelters, right? How do you decide who gets a bed first?
It's very different for us. We used to be first come, first served. Now we use this vulnerability index, and it actually applies a number that indicates vulnerability. So the higher the number, the higher the vulnerability. And right now we're targeting the most vulnerable of the homeless population.
Such as, what would you consider the most vulnerable?
So it would be someone with mental health issues, some disability, chronic health issues, something that would contribute to them really not being able to pay their rent, so they're stuck on the street because they don't have financial resources, and because of their disability, they're really at the ultimate risk for trouble on the streets.
So you took 100 from the tents, but there's still going to be a 3 to 4 month gap, I understand, before the village is ready for its all 350 permanent beds, correct?
Every day we have turnover in those beds, so we're actually going to slowly build to that 350, being entirely dedicated to this project.
What needs to be done? Do you need to build more rooms, get more beds? Like, what needs to be done to pump that up?
Well, the focus of the city right now is to make what we have more efficient. And so we have kind of a standing rule now. If we did it this way 2 months ago, we have to reevaluate it and do it differently so we're more efficient. So right now there are no dollars for additional beds, and so it's all about efficiency.
I see. Bob, the Alpha Project actually has a new supportive housing development opening soon, right?
Amen.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, Alpha Square, God willing, the last week of August. We're 3 months ahead of schedule, which is a blessing. It'll be 203 new units for this specific population of permanent supportive housing for the most vulnerable. Those are senior citizens with disabilities. Most of our folks are trapped and struggling in some form of mental illness. Many veterans, with 25% of the population in this building will be veterans. So it's a tremendous blessing.
And where's it going to be again?
It's at 14th and
downtown.
Market.
14th and Market downtown.
I was thinking of other place.
So
14th and Market.
So speaking of the issues here that were involved here, seniors, mental health issues, Bob, what do you do with people when they come in? Is there a way to get them the services that they need?
Well, in this particular building in Alpha Square, we'll have all of our case managers, our job developers, our housing navigators, our clinics, everything within the building. So it'll be a self-supporting, self-sustaining, interactive building with micro-enterprise for people to work if they want to, with a commercial kitchen, catering business, these type of things, and generating revenue to support the building. But the key is, and we talked about earlier, that one of our biggest challenges is the fact there's no inventory anywhere for our population. You know, we're a
inventory as in things to give them to help support
inventory
services?
Transition people to rooms. There's not enough rooms at the end. They don't exist. So we've got to have that funding somewhere down the road through the federal government to build this type of supportive housing so that everybody has a home.
Okay, and then we have to end on this, but I know there's an estimated 10,000 homeless people in the county, another 1,000 just in downtown itself. Ruth, we'll end on this one. What would you like to see for the next steps and getting beds for the 1,000 people downtown, just starting there?
We really need to have more conversations. We need landlords who are willing to rent their units to people who otherwise would be in some pretty tough shape, but they can make good renters when they get that roof over their head. And we need more builders. As Bob said, it's just critical because this most vulnerable part of the population, they are the most disabled, they are the most helpless in terms of being able to help get that roof over their head themselves. They need our help.
Sure, well, keep us posted on that. Ruth Bruland and Bob McElroy, thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.